12, verse 32. In that passage, the Bible was talking about David. David was driven away from the city into the wilderness. He was actually fleeing from Saul. While he was there, some brethren and friends, maybe they must have weighed the balances and looked at the real situation. They asked themselves, where the real, would it be Saul that was over there in the palace, or was it David in the wilderness? These people realized that the oil had dropped on the head of David. So they left their comforts and moved over into the wilderness. The Bible said that they came with one heart to turn the kingdom of Saul over to David according to the word of the Lord. In verse 32, the Bible says, among them were the sons of Issachar, people that had understanding of the times, and they knew what Israel ought to do. You will see that two words in terms of information management were mentioned in that passage, that they understood the times and they knew what Israel ought to do. I want to remind us that in information management, you do not begin to speak from the level of understanding. You actually begin from the fundamental, which is knowledge. Knowledge is said to be the acquisition of facts, the gathering of information. But God doesn't want the church to remain on the platform of knowledge, in as much as the prophet Hosea warned us that his people perish for lack of knowledge. But he doesn't want the church to remain at knowledge, even though knowledge is good. He wants the church to move on to understanding. Understanding is the correct interpretation of the facts. So it is possible to know something and not interpret it correctly. So it is possible to have knowledge and not have understanding. Still yet, God doesn't want the church to remain on the level of understanding. He wants the church to move on to wisdom. Wisdom is the application of the facts. If what you know does not affect your lifestyle, then you are said to be foolish. So it is possible to know something, to interpret it correctly, and still not translate it to practical imperatives that affect a lifestyle. That is why Paul was writing to the church in Ephesus, and he said to them, be foolish, but be wise, knowing what the will of the Lord is, that is knowledge, redeeming the times, because the days are evil. The days are evil is the interpretation. So what is wisdom? Redeeming the times. It's in the same light that we are looking at this particular segment. Why so? We are looking at it today by the grace of God, so that before tomorrow we would have had a little definition of the landscape. Because this segment for tomorrow, we'll be having somebody to be talking to us about open doors in a lockdown. But for today, what do we mean when we even talk about the situation that has been redefined or the emerging landscape in a pandemic era? Let us not forget what the Bible